And we'll be keeping an eye on that for you right here on Live Now from Fox. In the meantime, I do want to show you some of the sound that was coming from one of the protests out in Seattle just moments ago. Let's listen in on Live Now.
We have to dig even more deeply and even rise higher to the moment that is before us to stop us from going down the violent drain of authoritarianism. And so you know me, I'm an organizer through and through. But unlike the way I usually start typical rally speeches, I just want to start by allowing us to feel what we are feeling. I have been feeling it all week, following the ICE raids across the country, the militarization on the streets of Los Angeles, the arresting of a United States member of Congress, my colleague LaMonica McIver, and the assault and the handcuffing of a U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. And this morning, the assassination of Minnesota lawmakers, even as the Proud Boys are circulating memes on their social media channels saying, shoot a couple and the rest will go home. Well, I am here with you to say we are not going home. We are going to stand up for our country, for our democracy. Because we know that violence isn't just
She gonna
from
come on,
the
mad,
muzzle
mad
of a
dramatic.
gun.
Hey y'all, I'm
Rounding
at
up our
I-78.
neighbors
Welcome,
is
welcome,
political
welcome.
violence.
We are
The
taking a look at the
suppression
goings
of free
on. It's been a
speech
busy
is
Saturday
political violence.
with the No Kids protest.
Republican legislation that cruelly kicks people off of health care and food stamps is political violence. The existence of so many assault rifles on our streets and in our schools is political violence. The hateful rhetoric that I see and experience every day in the halls of Congress, in the committee rooms, on the floor of the House is political violence. And all violence, especially political violence,
Here y'all go.
is a communally felt experience. So let us feel it. Huddle in, hug your loved ones, take the hands of the people next to you if you feel comfortable. Breathe in the strength of not being alone. Breathe in the power of a growing movement for democracy, because we are here together to get our strength stronger and to demonstrate our power. We are here to take back our country from any and all pretenders who want to be king. We are here to stand up to the tyrants and their enablers who want to bend the nation to them, to the dictators and the authoritarians who have forgotten why and how our country was formed. And if you're like me, you're shocked and you're not shocked at all. Because
Hey, Prime.
targeting on a mass scale, especially by a pretender to be king, begets targeting on a small scale. And if you're like me and you're honest about it, you might be afraid. I'm not ashamed to say I've got moments of fear. Of course I do. So do you. But I and you are more than simply afraid. We are furious. We are outraged. And we are courageous, because never forget that courage is not acting when you have no fear. It is acting despite the fact that you are afraid. It is about stepping up for others, even when the risk allowing our compassion to be present and our hearts to ache. It is about using our anger and our collective action that resists this violence with our nonviolent resistance and our non-cooperation. Now listen, the best way to fight wannabe kings and authoritarians who don't listen to the Constitution, who don't listen to Congress or the courts, is to build the strength and the power of the people. To remind those wannabe kings that power does not flow from the top down, it flows from the bottom up, from we the people. And we got to be very, very clear that we understand how everything that's happening around us is not disconnected and singular. That rounding up immigrants is directly tied to the militarization of our communities, is directly tied to the suppression of dissent, and the elimination of due process is directly tied to the elimination of health care and food, and education is directly tied to the control of women's bodies, and the bullying of trans kids is directly tied to the violence across all these realms. Because it is ultimately, it is all about the concentration of power in the hands of a wannabe king, and we say no kings.
My thing is, why is this just not the same? How many presidents have we had?
To wait for some big moment to occur. I like big moments, but it's not to wait
My
for some
question
big
is
moment
really
to
about,
occur.
you know what I'm saying,
Our job is
not
to
letting one person have that much
create
power, or
those
is it because the
moments
person who
with
can have that
many
much power
smaller
doesn't?
acts of resistance that build upon each other and build our own courage and capacity to resist, with our own education about the most effective ways to fight democratic backsliding, about how we increase the numbers of people that participate and the numbers of events that happen, and the way in which we are willing to take increasing levels of risk. So if you're ready to do that, I want to invite you to sign up for my Resistance Labs trainings, and you're going to hear from some incredible people after me who participated in those trainings. In just 2.5 months, we've had over 30,000 people sign up.
No parents don't want to hear about that.
50 states across the country. And so please go to resistancelab.us to sign up for the next ones, which are coming up in June and July. We're going to give you the tools, the knowledge, the understanding that you need to protect our democracy. Now, I want you to know that being here today is really important.
I did.
It
Second
is
email.
not performative. Recognize that right now you are part of hundreds of events across America, perhaps the largest protests in the history of America. That may be today.
I'm making up stuff now. What's going on, Steve?
And I want you to know that your resistance has already been working. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was brought back to the United States because of your resistance. Mahmoud Khalil, Ramesa Ostark, and Khan Suri were all released because of your resistance. And yes, even yesterday, the giant wannabe king even did a giant 180 on our raids, nominally directing DHS and ICE to stop raids on farm workers and hospitality workers. That is because of your resistance. Now, we don't trust him. Do you trust him? I don't trust him.
You don't have
That's not
to.
enough. But I want you to just drink in people's victories and fortify yourself with the fact that resistance works. We are here to say no kings in America. Not now. Not ever. No one wears a crown in our democracy, and the people will never back down in this fight. No kings, no crowns. The people won't back down. people is you and me. It's us, you and me. I'm looking at the ones I can look at here, eye to eye. You and me. Hey, everybody, you and me. You in this fight with us. So, before you leave, make a plan, not just for what you're doing today, but what you're going to do next. Sign up for Resistance Labs. Sign up with your community groups. Sign up to stand up with your neighbors for your immigrant friends that are being raided. Design your own resistance effort. I'm still looking for our version of that MAGA red cap, so send in your ideas for what that should be. Do not stop, because this is not a one-time thing. It's about building more and more people, more and more resistance events. And I think back to Selma, Alabama. I think
Right, everyone, you are watching live now from Fox. Just some of the many protests that happened and continue to
I just got
happen
one question.
all across the country here.
What
But
is
we are
the
only
desired
steps
outcome?
away, because we are now moments away from the official D.C. military parade honoring and celebrating the Army's 250th birthday. That is going to be taking place here in moments. The kickoff is happening right now. Let's go out to Washington, D.C. and show you
let's see what's
some of this coverage, the sights, the sounds. It will be more than 6,000 military members, more than 150 vehicles will be coming to Washington, D.C. The crowd is ready, and they know that the weather could be possibly impacting some of the festivities, but they are there on this Flag Day, on President Trump's birthday as well. And we are just learning from Fox News that the F-22 flyover to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday has been scrubbed tonight due to incoming thunderstorms.
Oh,
Let's
no.
listen in right now on Live Now from Fox of the D.C. military parade.
Hi.
Forged in the fires of revolution, tested on today's front lines of freedom. Before there was a nation, there was the United States Army. From the hallowed ground of Yorktown's first stand to the unwavering readiness at Fort Bragg today, and onward to West Point's next generation of leaders. For 250 years, one force has stood ready, unshaken, unmatched, unbreakable. And today, the legacy rolls on. This is the United States Army's 250th anniversary parade.
Representing our joint forces, please welcome the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane.
All right, let's see what you're working with.
Joining us, the Secretary of the Army. Please welcome the Honorable Daniel P. Driscoll. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Secretary of Defense, the Honorable Pete Hegseth. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, accompanied by the Second Lady of the United States, Usha Vance, and their 3 children.
Oh, come on now, y'all. Get your feet right. Come on, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, would you please rise for the singing of our national anthem?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what's so bright
What you say, prime, though, for black people?
at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, where the ramparts we watched were so
Before we even had a country, we had an army.
They started as a
Hey.
small, organized group of shop owners and farmers.
What's going
But
on?
they fought the most powerful army in the entire world to a standstill in Concord, Lexington, and Bunker Hill.
Then our Continental Congress chose George Washington as general of our Continental Army.
But it wasn't until 1 year later, on July 4th, 1776, that news arrived of the signing of our Declaration of Independence.
Now we had a new army and a new nation.
With little gunpowder, no shoes, bloody feet, few cannons, little training, and even less food.
Valley Forge started in December. They went into winter camp in December of 1777. Approximately 2,000 Americans died that winter of disease.
They lived through hell, but they never ever gave up. Not this army, not this first American army.
Finally, Washington and his army arrived here at Yorktown, where they had General Cornwallis and his powerful British army trapped in this city against the sea.
All of the preparation that Washington has learned through the course of those 6.5 years meets its full force here at Yorktown, and he employs it brilliantly.
Sailing from the Caribbean, the French Navy arrived and took on the British fleet.
Washington decided to make his move. Our men began digging to get closer and closer to the fort, finally getting within rifle and cannon range. Naturally, George Washington chose to set off our first cannon shot.
The British had two small forts in front of the main fort. They were called redoubts 9 and 10.
Then, on the moonless night of October 14th, the American and French forces attacked the redoubts. The hand-to-hand combat with bayonets, knives, and fists was bloody, to say the least. But within an hour, we were victorious.
And as the sun came up the next day, Cornwallis looked out and realized he was in serious trouble. So he prepared an all-out, desperate counterattack.
It didn't work, and the British were forced to surrender.
We were supposed to lose to the best army and the largest and most professional navy in the world.
But our young army had won the war and our freedom. The freedom we hold so dear. And 250 years later, for what started as a ragtag group of shop owners, has now become the most powerful army in the world.
Today, many things are very different from that army here at Yorktown, but one thing remains the same. An undying passion, guts, and love for our country remains deep in the heart of today's army. When I look into their faces, you can see it. That will never change. God bless the United States Army, and God bless the United States of America.
There's some black people.
gentlemen, our parade is officially underway. Up first, internationally renowned as one of the world's finest professional music organizations, the United States Army Band, Marching Zone. They are the premier music organization of the U.S. Army, our nation's most senior service. Stationed at Joint Base near Henderson Hall, Virginia, it plays an important
Yeah, I was having problems with my phone.
significance. They were founded back in 1922
just in time, the parade has officially started.
They're led today by Colonel Bruce R. Pulver and Drum Major.
Oh, I see. That's what's up.
Today, Pershing Zone is playing a melody entitled "The Army Goes Rolling Along."
So far, it looks peaceful.
1908 by the then Lieutenant Edmund Louis Snitz Gruber, which was a descendant of French.
We had enough drama today.
Silent Night. It was originally written to be a 5th Artillery Regimental song titled "The Caissons Go Rolling Along."
Yeah.
In 1956, the lyrics were revised.
Did you hear what happened in Minnesota?
The official song of the U.S. Army. And then
You're saying at least you're saying they were able to get some information. They know who they're looking for.
Oh,
they
find
old
legacy, playing a march that brings pride to every soul.
Yeah.
The Army song.
Yeah, that's true. I just thought that was crazy. I looked at that, I was like, what? Wow.
The unit was dubbed the Old Guard by Major General Winfield Scott during a victory parade in Mexico City after the
Democrats have bodies, taking bodies on them now. That was funny.
Ensure the highest standards and
Don't
utmost
need to
discipline of its
quit.
soldiers.
Like,
The
really,
unit
that's all you
routinely
think to do is
represents
go
the
there and
U.S.
murder them
Army
people?
and our nation in official ceremonies, major sporting events, and their own at the U.S. Army's own Twilight Tattoo. The Old Guard
Like, you
also
put time and
maintains
effort into that.
24-hour vigil of the tomb of the unknown soldier.
So they betrayed their own
Services honoring our fallen heroes
own
at
part.
Arlington National Cemetery. The regiment's 50 campaign streamer stands
Yeah, I thought that was crazy.
to its long, faithful service to our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. In 1775, the shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord sparked a revolution, uniting 13 colonies and forging a continental army from farmers and frontiersmen. Against the odds, they turned the tide at Trenton and Saratoga, survived Valley Forge, and at Yorktown forced a British surrender, securing independence and giving birth to the United States of America. Before radios and field phones, sound was the signal. In the Continental Army, fifes and drums carried commands across the chaos of battle, telling soldiers when to advance, when to retreat, eat, even when to rest. That legacy actually lives on today with the U.S. Army Fife and Drum Corps, part of the 3rd Infantry Regiment known as the Old Guard. Founded back in 1960, they're the only unit of their kind in the armed forces. Performing in uniforms patterned after those worn by General Washington's musicians. Playing period instruments with patriotic precision, they bring history to life, sharing the sound and spirit of the revolution through more than 500 performances each year, both at home and around the world, too. The Old Guard, Fife and Drum Corps, everybody. And now, from high above, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 250 years, your United States Army parachute team, the Golden Knights. Descending at over 120 miles an hour, the Golden Knights are using flexible wing gliders to maintain their formation. They open their main canopy simultaneously and negotiate the softest possible landing. I'll tell you, they can't hear you, but they sure can see you. You can give them a great big wave, ladies and gentlemen. The Golden Knights, the finest parachuting team in the world. Fort Sumter in 1861, a nation divided. Over 4 brutal years, nearly 2 million soldiers fought to preserve the Union. Among them, 5 future presidents and the first recipients of a brand new military decoration, the Medal of Honor. With independence won, our nation's westward expansion began. The Army moved in step, guarding settlers as native scouts lit the way. Immigrants joined the cause, and the Buffalo Soldiers etched a legacy of grit and honor across the American frontier. As they march by, a soldier's uniform signals their duty, their role, and their readiness. And by the late 1850s, official regulations outlined distinct looks, shaping the Army's identity and function across the force. Soldiers were issued 2 coats. One, a short sack coat for work and battle, with brass buttons and colored trim that marked their rank. Well, by war's end, that rugged sack coat became the soldier's uniform of choice. As the war escalated, volunteer enlistment surged. Congress authorized support for a force of up to 500,000 new troops, answering the call to preserve the Union. As they march by, representing the Civil War era of our nation's history, is the 4th Infantry Division based out of Fort Carson, Colorado. From Fort Cavazos, Texas, home of legends, the 1st Cavalry Division rides with pride. Born from the thunder of horse cavalry traditions of the Civil War, the 1st team forged its reputation on the front lines of history. They stormed Manila with the flying column, charged into Pyongyang as the first to breach the line and face the brutal crucible of Ia Drang, the first of 13 named campaigns in Vietnam where they proved their mettle. Today, that same warrior spirit lives on. You'll know the name, and you'll know them by their iconic cav hats, elite soldiers, and cutting-edge equipment. Tough, fit, fearless. The 1st Cavalry Division is a lethal, disciplined force that stands ready to fight and win anywhere, anytime. And the legacy rides on. This is the Cav. Special thanks to our sponsor, Lockheed Martin. Between European alliances culminate in the outbreak of the First World War. The 2 sides engage in the savage war of attrition, defined by opposing trenches, barbed wire, poison gas, and mass casualties. The United States initially maintained its neutrality, but was eventually drawn into the conflict in 1917. Despite having less than 130,000 soldiers at the beginning, the Army eventually grew to over 4 million, with nearly 2 million soldiers serving in Europe. In 6 months of fighting, nearly 50,000 Americans lost their lives, with another 190,000
Have they
wounded.
always been of
The
interest
guns
to
fell
you?
silent with the armistice of November 11th, 1918. We continue on with more USA World War I rolling stock. This 1918 Dodge touring car was part of the legendary 1919 Transcontinental Convoy. 3,251 miles and 62 grueling days across the Lincoln Highway. Remember, no pavement, no GPS, and no power steering. Just grit, determination, and the drive to push Army mobility into the future. This car literally helped pave the way for the roads we rely on today, and reminds us when the Army moves, the nation follows. The 1918 Dodge touring car.
Okay.
Headquartered in New York, this is the 42nd Infantry Division Band. At the start of World War I, the 42nd Infantry Division was formed with troops from 27 National Guard units, stretching across the country like a rainbow. Composed of skilled musicians from all walks of life and professional occupations, they perform a variety of musical genres. Though their mission is primarily a musical one, the members were ordered into active federal service back in 2004 in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom 3. The band has also served in support of numerous state active duty missions, including cleanup efforts following Hurricane Sandy, distribution support during COVID-19, and recently, support for New York State Corrections. Commanded by Chief Warrant Officer 2, Ethan Wagner, and led by Drum Major Sergeant First Class Drew Gans, the band is performing Over There, written in 1917 by Broadway composer and recipient of the Congressional Gold Medal, George M. Cohan. Representing the World War I era is the 82nd Airborne Division, based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina. You'll notice the unit is wearing replica World War I uniforms, signifying the soldiers who served our nation during this time. When the Americans entered the Great War, our soldiers, under the command of General Blackjack Pershing, hit the trenches in the new standard. It was the olive drab winter service uniform. Now, on their heads, you'll see a steel helmet with sand-textured paint built to deflect deadly shrapnel from above. Not bulletproof, but battle tough. Nicknamed the Pershing boot, on their feet was the M918, 1918 French boot. It was designed to survive the brutal grind of trench warfare. And on their backs, the field pack, rations, ammo, first aid, and a gas mask. Everything a doughboy needed to fight and to win. Incidentally, the 42nd Infantry Division was deployed to heavy combat abroad and then deployed again in World War II, ultimately liberating the Dachau concentration camp. The 42nd responded to the terrorist attacks on 9/11. Later, with the war on terrorism, the rainbow stretched across the world again, deploying in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thundering into view, the pride of Fort Sill, the U.S. Army Artillery Half Section. This is literally powered by horsepower and heritage. This elite ceremonial unit honors the legacy of the Army's horse-drawn artillery. With precision, discipline, and 6 majestic horses pulling a vintage 1918 caisson, the half section keeps tradition alive and rolling strong. Representing the power, pride, and precision of America's field artillery. This is Fort Sill's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Special thanks to our sponsor, Form Energy. World War II, a global fight for freedom. In history's darkest hour, the United States Army was on the front lines. From the beaches of Normandy to the islands of the Pacific, the greatest generation faced down tyranny and turned the tide. From bombers to fighters to transports, U.S. Army aircraft started to thunder across the skies in World War II. And take a look up there, ladies and gentlemen. Flying overhead right now. They are fast, they are fierce, and famously used in the Doolittle raid over Tokyo. Leading up front, the mighty B-25 Mitchell. Up next, the Cadillac of the sky, the P-51 Mustang.
I have no idea how much they paid.
From the sky, we're back down on the ground. In World War II,
They
one
paid,
vehicle led the
so,
charge, the legendary quarter-ton 4x4 command recon vehicle, the Jeep. You might have a Jeep in your driveway, but not like this. The U.S. Army truck quarter-ton 4x4 command reconnaissance, better known as the Jeep, was an iconic vehicle of World War II and was the world's first mass-produced four-wheel drive vehicle. The Army used the Jeep for almost every military activity, including command vehicles, scout cars, and medical ambulances. Fast, rugged, the Jeep became a symbol of American ingenuity.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, they raggedy now.
From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, this is the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band.
Okay, now represent North Carolina. Now come on.
From Fort Bragg, North Carolina, this is the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. The 82nd received the nickname All-Americans after a contest as it represented the diverse origins of its members from every state. This name remains today symbolized by their iconic AA patch. Fort Bragg's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big round of applause, the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. In a global fight like World War II, the U.S. Army knew our troops needed more than courage. They needed innovation. Uniforms evolved for every environment, but olive drab remained the mark of the American soldier. Shaped by lessons from the trenches of World War I, the Army introduced two battlefield essentials: the M1 helmet, tough, stable, and built to protect under fire, and the M1 Garand rifle, powerful and fast. It gave American troops a very clear edge. General George S. Patton called the M1 rifle the greatest battle implement ever designed, and history proved it right. The 82nd Airborne Division. The unit is best known for their bravery on D-Day, when 12,000 parachute and glider troops destroyed German supply lines after fighting for 33 days straight. The 101st Airborne Division, based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, traces its lineage back to 1918 when it first established as the 101st Division. Known for their ability to rapidly deploy across the world, the unit has held a crucial role in operations since its inception. From parachuting behind enemy lines on D-Day to leading helicopter assaults in Vietnam, the 101st redefined modern warfare. In the 50s, the Screaming Eagles stood tall at home, protecting the Little Rock Nine during the fight for civil rights. In recent decades, they've been sent across the world with stints as far as the Middle East, where they took part in Operation Desert Storm and participated extensively in the war on terrorism in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Screaming Eagles continue to lead the way as tomorrow's division in today's Army. The iconic Sherman tank is here, ladies and gentlemen. It was the cornerstone of the U.S. Armed Forces, showing its military might in World War II. It became one of the most influential tank designs of the 20th century. The M4 tank was nicknamed the Sherman tank after Civil War General William Tecumseh Sherman. Actually, he was named by the British. With almost 50,000 produced during World War II, The Sherman tank was in active service until 1957. In World War II, the M16 half-track was a force to be reckoned with. It was a self-propelled anti-aircraft weapon with speed, firepower, and grit. Nicknamed the meat chopper, its quad 50 caliber mount could unleash 2,300 rounds a minute. Quite devastating. It served through Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, and remains in use in U.S. allies to this day. The M16 half-track brings the fight wherever it rolls. The U.S. Army Transportation Corps motto states, "Nothing happens until something moves." That was never more true than with this. Look at this, the 2.5-ton Chevrolet Dissent. Moved up to 10,000 pounds of cargo and was the backbone of the Red Ball Express that kept the Allies supplied after D-Day in World War II. The Korean War, often referred to as the Forgotten War, began on June 25, 1950, with the North Korean Army's invasion of South Korea. A coalition of South Korea, the United States, and other United Nations members defeated the invasion and advanced into North Korea. The coalition fought and defeated 2 Chinese offensives in the spring of 1951. Armistice negotiations began shortly after that defeat in July of 1951 until the armistice was signed 2 years later in 1953. Combat consisted of small attacks, raids, and patrolling. During this war, the United States deployed approximately 6.8 million military forces to the Korean Peninsula. Special thanks to our sponsor, Coinbase.
All right, that's the third sponsor. We got plenty of sponsorship.
The M151 kept rolling along as the lightweight, high-mobility, general-purpose vehicle replacing the famed World War II Jeep back in 1961. Officially named the Military Utility Tactical Truck, or MUT, most servicemen generally referred to it as a Jeep. The vehicle spanned more than 40 years in 4 manufacturers and were everywhere that the Army was deployed. Another rolled by earlier, and at 2.5 tons, this deuce and a half, the M35A2 classic military transport truck was a mainstay of the U.S. Army for decades, particularly during the Vietnam War and Operation Iraqi Freedom. The deuce and a half proved its value moving cargo, supplies, and soldiers. Its capabilities include up to 5,000 pounds off-road and 10,000 pounds on-road, making it ideal for moving just about anything. In the jungles of Vietnam, the U.S. Army faced a new kind of war. Helicopters became the new workhorses of battle, delivering troops, firepower, and supplies into some of the most unforgiving terrain on Earth. This is the U.S. Army in Vietnam, the era of air mobility, fierce firefights, and unwavering brotherhood. And over the music marching through, the roar of these legendary Army helicopters takes to the air. Flying overhead right now, they help define the Vietnam War. That staccato beat of the rotor blades was a welcome sound to many troops mired in combat. From transport and medevac to close air support and reconnaissance, they brought the fight to the front and pulled the wounded to safety. The OH-6 Cayuse scouted the terrain with unmatched agility. The AH-1 Cobra, also nicknamed the Snake, brought serious firepower. Its slim design, as you can see here, helped it survive and thrive in hostile environments to protect soldiers below. And the icon of the era, the UH-1 Huey, the first turbine-powered helicopter in service with the U.S. military. There was nothing the Huey couldn't do. General support, air assault, cargo transport, medic evacuation, and ground attack missions. The Cayuse, Cobra, and Huey, ladies and gentlemen, three iconic Army symbols in the sky. The 1st Cavalry Division Band, based out of Fort Cavazos, Texas, has played a vital role in U.S. military history. Since its origins back in 1855 as the band of the 2nd Cavalry, it has supported operations from the Civil War to Desert Storm. Over time, it's evolved into a powerful force using music to strengthen bonds between soldiers and engage with communities. From World War II in Korea to the Vietnam War in Bosnia, the 1st Teen Band has enhanced morale and upheld the division's enduring legacy. Today, the band continues its mission using music to shape perceptions, foster trust, and promote national Army and division interests. Standing ready to serve, it remains an enduring symbol of the 1st Cavalry Division's legacy and commitment to duty. The band performs Hit the Leather and Ride, a march composed by Captain Robert Meredith Wilson. This piece reflects the cavalry's transition from horses to mechanized warfare, capturing the speed, the resilience, and the tradition of the division. From Fort Cavazos, Texas, everybody, the 1st Cavalry Division Band.
Okay, y'all doing too much. Y'all doing a lot in this chat.
The U.S. Army deployed large numbers of troops in support of the Vietnam War. The first contingent of U.S. Army advisors arrived in Vietnam in the late 1950s, and that quickly grew to a small team of around 100 soldiers, which then expanded to more than 600 over the next decade. As the war intensified, troops' numbers quickly grew as the war between the South Vietnamese government and the communist insurgents supported by North Vietnam intensified. By January 1969, more than 364,200 soldiers organized around 7 divisions and 20 separate combat brigades. The United States began withdrawing its forces in July of 1969, and the last Army combat unit left South Vietnam in August of '71. The last U.S. combat soldier came home March 1973, while a small number of non-combat personnel remained until April 1975. Representing the Vietnam War era is the 101st Airborne Division based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The unit is wearing replica Vietnam War uniforms signifying the soldiers who served our nation during this time. Blistering heat, thick humidity, and unforgiving terrain demanded uniform innovation. And the Army, they delivered. New lightweight uniforms were constructed to move with the soldier. The M16 replaced the M1 Garand, calling for redesigned ammo gear and faster reloads in combat. Body armor got smarter, jackets and trousers got lighter, and field equipment was reimagined to meet the mission head-on. Gone were the heavy Mickey Mouse boots, replaced by canvas tropical combat boots that offered better grip, faster drying, and all-day endurance. Special thanks to our sponsor, Oracle.
Exactly.
When Saddam Hussein's Iraq invaded Kuwait in August 1990, the U.S. Army deployed to Saudi Arabia to deter further Iraqi aggression in the region for what was known as Operation Desert Shield. By the fall, more than 750,000 troops comprising U.S. service members and coalition partners from more than 30 countries had assembled in the Saudi Arabian desert. In mid-January 1991, the U.S.-led coalition began Operation Desert Storm, which kicked off with an intensive air campaign designed to knock out key Iraqi infrastructure and weaken Iraqi forces. The ground offensive was launched in early 1991, where military forces overwhelmingly destroyed enemy tanks and vehicles. After only 100 hours of ground combat, coalition troops liberated Kuwait, and the Gulf War ended with Iraq's surrender. From Fort Riley, Kansas, this is the 1st Infantry Division, one of the Army's most storied divisions. Nicknamed the Big Red One because of the distinctive red on their unit patch. As the oldest continuously serving division in the U.S. Army, the unit has participated in every major operation since World War I, living up to its motto, no mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great,
You're welcome.
duty first. The 1st Infantry Division was originally established as the 1st Expeditionary Division in 1917 and spearheaded the American Expeditionary Forces in France during World War I. In World War II, the Fighting First stormed Omaha Beach on D-Day and liberated Nazi concentration camps. The highly decorated unit has had 37 members of the Big Red One awarded the Medal of Honor. In Washington, D.C., the 1st Division Monument stands in President's Park, memorializing those who died while serving in the 1st Infantry Division. Ladies and gentlemen, they are the Big Red One, the 1st Infantry Division. More military rolling stock. During Operation Desert Storm, the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle proved its value on the battlefield. It is fast, it is tough, and it is lethal. Named for General Omar Bradley, a leader from West Point's famed class of 1916, the Bradley was built to carry troops into combat with protection and power. Armed with a 25mm chain-driven cannon and twin-tube launched optically tacked wire-guided missiles, it played a critical role in clearing the way during the ground assault into Iraq. While the Paladin looks and sounds like a tank, it is technically a self-propelled howitzer that was first introduced back in the 1960s. Over the years, it's been upgraded to perform in versatile battlefields from Vietnam to the Soviet Union to Iraq. In the Gulf War, no division hit harder or moved faster than the 1st Armored. The 1st Armored Division, nicknamed Old Ironsides, is the oldest, most recognizable armored division in the United States Army. As part of the buildup for World War II, cavalry and reconnaissance units were brought together to form the 1st Armored Division in 1940. In the Gulf War, no division hit harder or moved faster than the 1st Armored. Old Ironsides really led the way. During Desert Storm, they engaged in some of the largest tank battles in Army history that were decisive victories, shattering enemy formations. Based in Fort Bliss, Texas, America's Tank Division is currently supporting missions in 20 countries across 5 continents. From World War II to today, Old Ironsides remains battle-proven and always ready. First used in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, the M119 howitzer brought precision firepower to the front lines. Lighter and more mobile than larger artillery, it was built for the infantry brigade, able to fire high into the air or directly at the target depending on the mission. Whether used in battery formation or as a standalone support weapon, the M119 delivered reliable, responsible fire when it mattered most. Still in service today, including on the front lines in Ukraine, it remains a trusted part of the Army's arsenal.
This current service not veteran, not yet.
Special thanks to our sponsor, UFC.
On for number 4.
On September 11, 2001, terrorists destroyed the World Trade Center in New York City and struck the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. using commercial airliners. In response, the U.S. launched the global war on terrorism. The U.S. would stop potential threats around the world and take the fight to terrorist groups and the nations that back them. The Army immediately deployed forces to Afghanistan to destroy Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda terrorist organization and depose his sponsors, the ruling Taliban. The 2003 President Bush expanded the war to Iraq. Soldiers and other armed services overthrew Iraq's dictator Saddam Hussein. The fight to stabilize Iraq and prevent terrorist groups from overthrowing its new government continues to this day. The campaign in Afghanistan lasted until 2021 when U.S. forces withdrew and the Taliban returned to power. Over the course of the two-decade conflict, over 2 million servicemen and women, less than 1% of the American population, deployed in support of the global war on terrorism. Most of those who served were members of the United States Army. The global war on terrorism saw the introduction of a range of new technologies on the battlefield. The 8-wheeled Stryker armored combat vehicle is the first new military vehicle to enter service in the U.S. Army since the Abrams tank back in the 1980s. The vehicle was developed to fill a gap in the Army's inventory between a lighter infantry and heavy armored unit. The Stryker armored combat vehicle enables the team to maneuver in close and urban terrain, plus provide protection in open terrain and transport infantry quickly to critical battlefield positions. The first Stryker vehicles were fielded back in 2002 with the 1st Stryker Brigade combat team deploying to Iraq in 2003. U.S. Army Rangers, predating the Revolutionary War, fought in the War of 1812 as part of the regular Army and patrolled the frontier from Ohio to western Illinois on horseback and by boat, with the likes of Daniel Boone and Abraham Lincoln in their ranks. After the 9/11 terrorist attacks, Rangers were called upon to lead the way in the global war on terrorism. As part of the U.S. Army Special Operations Command, the 75th Ranger Regiment, based out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, represents a lethal, agile, and flexible force capable of conducting many special operations missions. Today's Rangers Regiment is the Army's premier direct action raid force. It is always combat ready, mentally and physically tough, and prepared to fight our country's adversaries. The U.S. Army Special Operations Command is an elite group of individuals trained to lead and succeed in protecting the country from their threats. Composed of 5 units with unique specialties, Special Operations works in small tactical teams, taking on the most challenging and sensitive missions. Military legends to service members and civilians alike, they take on terrorists through quiet guerrilla war-style missions in foreign countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. Army's Special Forces. The Stryker Brigade Combat Team combines the capacity for rapid deployment with survivability and tactical mobility. Adaptability and continuous transformation to overcome our enemies is vital. Fighting an elusive enemy in distant places and at home requires new tools such as unmanned aerial vehicles for surveillance and the Blue Force Tracker to see real-time details of troop movements. The United States does not face the challenging international environment alone. Our network of allies and partners is an advantage that our adversaries can never hope to match. Over 80 nations have fought alongside the United States or assisted it during the global war on terrorism. The 10th Mountain Division's climb to glory began with its establishment as the 10th Light Division in July 1943, the only one of its size in the U.S. military to receive specialized training for fighting in mountainous conditions. After periods spent inactive as a training division and as a standard infantry division, the unit returned to its roots in 1985 when it regained its Mountain Division designation. In the 1990s, the division participated in numerous humanitarian and peacekeeping operations. During the War on Terrorism, the 10th Mountain Division proved their mettle as light fighters through repeated deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq. Now, since 2002, the 10th Mountain Division, based out of Fort Drum, New York, has been the most deployed regular Army unit. Its combat brigades have seen over 20 deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. To show America's military might, they have one purpose: to deter war and, if ordered, defeat the enemies of the United States of America. They are the 10th Mountain Division. Investments in cutting-edge systems, drone technology, and capabilities strengthen the force, equipping soldiers with tools they need to protect the country and defend democracy. The Army has 8 Stryker Brigade combat teams, 6 in the active component and 2 in the National Guard. More than 2/3 of the 7,000 servicemen and women who sacrificed their lives fighting the global war on terrorism were part of one of the Army's 3 branches: active duty forces, the Army Reserve, and the Army National Guard. The Army is continuously transforming to deter aggression to ensure our adversaries cannot outrange or outpace us. This transformation is not just about adapting, it's about maintaining dominance, ensuring that America's Army remains unmatched in its speed, flexibility, and ability to support the nation's strategic priorities. Special thanks to sponsor Palantir.
Off to number 5.
Today, the U.S. Army's mission is to deploy, fight, and win our nation's wars. How? By securing ready, prompt, and sustained land dominance by Army forces across the full spectrum of the conflict as part of the joint force. Keeping the Army forces battle-ready and nimble makes transportation for the U.S. Army a very vital element. Spread across the parade today, numerous fighting vehicles, some designed for very specific functions and others for flexibility, but they all must be maintained. With over 200,000 trucks alone, wheeled vehicle mechanisms ensure that the fleet of vehicles are ready, and these mechanics get the job done. This convoy starts with the M777, a lightweight howitzer. These lightweight howitzers may not look particularly lightweight, but are made from titanium. They are 7,000 pounds lighter than their predecessor, the old M198. Used by the Army since 2005, the M777 is currently being used in Ukraine. Weighing only 4,700 pounds, the M119 howitzer is smaller and is used by infantry brigades, particularly for air assault missions. It was first used in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm in 1991. It is also seeing active use in Ukraine. The 7th Infantry Division, stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord, has been seeing continuous combat action ever since activation in World War I. From Europe to the Aleutian Islands, Japan, Korea, Afghanistan, and the Pacific, the Bayonet Division boasts a proud history of answering the call of its motto, "Trust in Me," with resolute dedication. Sent to deployments and conflicts around the globe since it was founded, the division returned to Fort Lewis in 1971, its first time on American soil since 1934. The 7th Division, originally called the Hourglass Division due to their hatch design, gained the nickname Bayonet Division during their deployment to Korea in June of 1950. At Incheon Landing and during the liberation of Seoul, they were credited with plunging the bayonet into the heart of the enemy, with 13 members of the division receiving the Medal of Honor. The 7th enables and sustains the combat readiness of 2 Stryker Brigade combat teams and a combat aviation brigade. With the American soldier, the cornerstone of everything the Army does, we are continuously transforming. Army careers span the spectrum from attorneys to astronauts and mechanics to engineers. The Army's greatest asset is our people, the finest men and women our great nation has to offer, with a myriad of talents that make us stronger. Aside from its people, the Army's next greatest asset is its technology and equipment. Coming up next, these vehicles offer a glimpse of what the Army employs for readiness and battle. The portable howitzers and the portable Abrams tank were used extensively in the Gulf War, along with Bradley tanks and the infantry squad vehicle. The ISB provides enhanced tactical mobility of an infantry brigade combat team. This allows commanders greater freedom of movement and action. The ISB provides the warfighter with increased flexibility to ensure infantry units maintain momentum to achieve mission success. When duty calls, U.S. Army soldiers don't just answer, they lead. From Fort Bragg, witness a powerful demonstration of strength, purpose, and the unmatched capability of today's Army.
The Army has made me see my potential, and I feel like it's molded me into a better person.
I grew up in a very patriotic household. My grandfather, he served in World War II, and his brother, my uncle, served in Vietnam. I can do this. If they can do this, I can do this.
When I was born, my dad was still serving in the military, and him coming home in his uniform, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that.
Ready for takeoff. My motivation, I think it follows in line. I think with what my family's done is kind of a sense of duty to serve our country and give back since it's given us so much.
I'm a very, let's say, timid person, but definitely helped me become a more confident person.
Working with a group and my peers, it really shows how much working with a team can strengthen you.
All right, ready to go? Ready to go. I derive a lot of purpose from serving others. I think serving something bigger than myself gets me out of bed every day. If you follow it up, keep up.
I definitely pushed myself further than I ever thought I could go.
I joined the military service because I want to deploy. That's my main goal, is deploy, deploy, deploy.
If we get the call, we have to go somewhere, we'll do what needs to be done. That's just the way we operate here.
This is one of the few jobs in the nation where we all take an oath to say, I'm willing to put my life on the line for you, and they're willing to put their life on the line for me.
This is what we train for. This is what we want to do. My team leaders and squad leaders, they know exactly what to do. Check equipment, check weapons, check ammo.
We're always ready to deploy within 18 hours and handle the mission at task. We jump so frequently so that our jump masters and the paratroopers are ready to deploy.
I'm very passionate about being a jump master. The paratroopers, they see you and, you know, they believe in you. I love to instill that confidence with my passion into those paratroopers. It's a rush. It's great.
Drop them cleared for personnel drop.
This week we honor 250 years of valor and glory and triumph by the greatest fighting force ever to walk the face of the earth, the United States Army. For 2.5 centuries, our soldiers have marched into the raging fires of battle and obliterated America's enemies.
I love the Army. It is a great place to set yourself up for success, to prepare yourself for the future.
God bless you, God bless our soldiers, and God bless the U.S. Army.
Joint Base Elmendorf, Richardson, Alaska is the home to America's Arctic Angels, who execute expeditionary operations worldwide, conduct multi-domain operations in the Indo-Pacific Theater and the Arctic, and on order decisively defeat any adversary in extreme cold weather, mountainous and high-latitude environments through large-scale combat operations. The Angels are the Army's only Arctic division. Masters of Arctic warfare, the 11th serves worldwide in all climates. Established in November of 1942, the Angels of the 11th Airborne Division led the way in the Philippines during World War II and spearheaded an amphibious invasion of Luzon and distinguished themselves during the liberation of Manila. After periods spent inactive and stationed in Germany from 1963 to 65, the division operated as the 11th Air Assault Division with the mission of testing and refining the Army's helicopter-centric air mobility doctrine. Activated once again in June of 2022, they remain dedicated to defending America's interests throughout the Arctic, in Alaska, and beyond. The 11th Airborne Division, America's Arctic Angels. Requiring ongoing maintenance in the field and on base because nothing happens until something moves, wheeled vehicle mechanics supervise and perform maintenance, repair, and recovery operations on vehicles that serve the Army in a variety of mission-critical roles. Included in the array of mobile artillery such as Paladins and the Abrams tank is the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle known as the JLTV. It's highly adaptable, providing protected and sustained mobility for personnel and payloads. The JLTV is known for its off-road capability while providing armor against small arms and improvised explosive devices. The JLTV right there. to an operational force in response to the pressures of the war on terrorism. In the 170,000 Army Reserve soldiers and 11,000 civilians serving their home communities, and when needed, they can quickly mobilize. The Army can't deploy, they can't fight or win without the Army Reserve. They are an important component of Army readiness. Let's have a big hand for the Army Reserve. Tomorrow's Army looks to increase safety and survivability, create efficiency, and streamline processes. The Stryker is a great example of assessing evolving needs and developing the solution. Strykers provide a balance between heavy armor and infantry brigade and combat teams. When Americans hear the name Bastogne, they remember one of World War II's most heroic defenses, the Battle of the Bulge. Surrounded by German forces in the frozen forests of Belgium in December 1944, soldiers of the 101st Airborne held the line. before you is the platoon from the multi-purpose company's 2nd Battalion, 327th Infantry Regiment, 1st Mobile Brigade, 101st Airborne Division, Bastogne. They are showcasing the Army's Transformation in Contact Initiative, a program that allows the Army to rapidly test, evaluate, and equip our soldiers with the newest technologies. Modern, mobile, and mission-ready, the Bastogne Brigade continues to adapt to new threats while staying rooted in the fierce resilience that defined its birth. They are carrying the next-generation squad weapons, the XM7 and XM250, both equipped with the XM157 optic. The vehicles are the infantry squad vehicle, a new mobility asset that can rapidly move through most terrain types. The trailer is the S-MET, and it's capable of carrying heavy loads under its own power through restrictive terrain. This platoon is equipped with 3 types of small unmanned aerial systems. They are the Ghost X, located on the S-MET, the C-100, and right above us there, the X-10D, which are flying above the formation right now. The Bradley fighting vehicle has proved itself to be lethal and survivable in multiple theaters since it first fielded back in the 1980s. Designed as a troop transport tank killer and to match speed with an Abrams tank, the Bradley is a fierce fighting machine. The Bradley accompanies American troops often with the M1A1 Abrams tank, nicknamed the Beast and Whispering Death because of its firepower, accuracy while moving, and its stealth. Together, they offer mobility and firepower, a fearsome combination. And high in the sky, the AH-64 Apache. It's the premier attack helicopter in the world. The Apache entered service in the mid-1980s and continues to evolve and modify to meet worldwide threats. It can deliver intense fire on the battlefield with an array of aerial rockets, guided Hellfire missiles, along with 30-millimeter cannon fire. The aircraft you see here is configured with a sophisticated targeting radar system and can operate in poor visibility and in the black of night. With more than 1,280 aircraft in operation accumulating over 5 million flight hours, 1.3 million of which have been in combat, the AH-64 Apache represents the backbone of the U.S. Army's attack helicopter fleet and a growing number of international defense forces. Special thanks to our sponsor, Lockheed Martin. Now, let's roll on to the future of Army readiness. The Army Research Laboratory robot dogs reflect the latest in Army innovation. Look at this. Much like a true canine, these robots can go where soldiers cannot. They have increased mobility, improved tactical awareness, reduced risk to soldiers, and enhanced teamwork. Replacing soldiers, robot dogs can explore terrain that may be difficult for soldiers to traverse. Disposable explosive ordnance that act in defensive posture or aggressive capacity when armed. The Ghost Robot Dog is another innovation that can adapt seamlessly for various missions from recon to bomb recognition. These dogs reduce risk and support soldiers completely in high-stakes missions. They have a standard walk speed of 2 miles per hour and are working towards 6.7 miles per hour sprint. As the oldest continuously serving Army band and the oldest unit at West Point, this is the United States Military Academy Band, ladies and gentlemen. West Point Band traces its history to a single drummer and fifer appointed by George Washington during the American Revolution. Over the next 2 centuries, this band evolved into one of the most capable and versatile performing groups in the world. One of the most prestigious institutions in the world where leadership is forged and duty becomes destiny. This is West Point, where Army leaders are made. With the motto of duty, honor, and country, West Point trains the best and brightest to serve their country as Army officers. Founded back in 1802 by President Thomas Jefferson, West Point is the home of the Long Gray Line, a legacy of courage and excellence that includes 77 Medal of Honor recipients, 2 U.S. presidents, Grant and Eisenhower, and numerous generals, including John J. Pershing, Douglas MacArthur, and Norman Schwarzkopf. Upon entering the United States Army, all recruits undergo initial entry training, a highly intense and a challenging training period aimed at developing a soldier's physical and mental toughness, instill discipline, train them in essential combat skills, and foster teamwork. IET transforms civilians into soldiers based on the 7 core Army values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. The Virginia Military Institute, on a mission to produce citizen soldiers, men and women educated for civilian life, prepared to serve their country in the armed forces. VMI counts a Nobel Prize winner, 11 Rhodes Scholars, generals, 7 Medal of Honor recipients, and a Pulitzer Prize winner among its graduates. As one of the nation's senior military colleges, students at Virginia Military Institute can participate in Army ROTC or the Corps of Cadets. While cadets in the Corps can serve in any branch of the United States military or pursue other careers, those in Army ROTC earn their commission as officers, ready to serve on active duty in the National Guard or Army Reserve. Each year, the Army Senior ROTC Blue Ridge Battalion commissions approximately 130 second lieutenants, ensuring that excellence in leadership continues in generations to come. The Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina, offers students the opportunity to participate in Army ROTC or the historic Corps of Cadets. Founded in 1842, the Citadel is the 3rd oldest of the senior military colleges and is known for its Corps of Cadets living and studying under a classical military system that makes leadership and character development essential. While military service is not required at graduation, more than 120 students earn their commission each year through the Army Senior ROTC Palmetto Battalion, playing a vital role in shaping the future. As one of the nation's senior military colleges, Texas A&M University is home to both Army ROTC and the renowned Corps of Cadets. The Corps of Cadets' central purposes has remained building individuals that exemplify respect, excellence, leadership, loyalty, integrity, and selfless service. Students at the university who participate in the Army ROTC earn their commission as officers ready to serve on active duty in the National Guard or Army Reserve. Each year, the Army Senior ROTC Warrior Training Battalion at Texas A&M proudly commissions more than 90 second lieutenants and is honored to shape the future leaders of the U.S. Army. In a powerful display of commitment, these future soldiers will raise their right hand and take an oath of enlistment, pledging to serve our nation. This joint formation is proudly led by the Joint Task Force, National Capital Region, and the Military District of Washington Retention Team. Shaping tomorrow's Army, West Point's most inspiring cadets remind us that America's future is courageous and in capable hands.
The pride to serve my country knows that I'm doing it not for myself. Every day I put on the uniform, I'm not just representing Caroline Robinson. I'm representing my company here at the Academy. I'm representing West Point. I'm representing the United States Army, and ultimately, I'm representing the United States of America.
I really came to West Point because belief in the American dream and giving back to our country.
You're a part of something that is much bigger than yourself. You're a part of a tradition of excellence and a legacy that's connected not only to the Academy, but to the American Army.
I'm surrounded by people who want to make themselves better and serve our country.
Excellence is their baseline, and that to me is what it means to be a West Point cadet.
From the earliest days of our nation, this supreme tradition of American military service has been passed down from soldier to soldier and generation to generation, and it's a beautiful thing to watch.
My brother preceded me here, and originally I didn't really know what West Point was until he came. But when I saw the mission that they were committed to, of upholding the principles of American democracy and protecting the Constitution, I knew it was somewhere I had to be.
Every time that we lived outside of the United States, I always developed this sense of gratitude and pride of being an American, and I wanted to give back to my country what it gave to me.
And it wasn't until I zipped up the blouse and I put the belt on for the first time that I realized that I was going to be serving my country, and it felt right. West Point was the place that I needed to be, and more importantly, the Army was where I wanted to be.
I just looked to the left and right over basic training and realized that we all had the same American patch on our shoulders, that we're all fighting for the same thing. I mean, there was no better feeling in the world knowing that every single person around you is committed and willing to die for that mission.
You came for excellence, you came for duty, you came to serve your country, and you came to show yourselves that you are among the smartest, toughest, strongest, most lethal warriors ever to walk on this planet.
What excites me the most about my future in the Army is the opportunity that I'm going to have to give back to the American soldiers that I'm going to be leading.
Because ultimately, they don't get to choose. And to me, it's that burden of responsibility to be the best leader.
And as a young officer, that's going to be exactly what I get to do.
I was the cadet basic training first detail for the first 3 weeks. And I got to see the new cadets come in from their families' homes and being in process on their very first day and watching them grow so quickly.
I would do all the formations, and I looked out at these 1,000 new cadets, people who just come out of high school. They were completely different people.
I don't think there's another institution in the country like West Point where the student body is so committed to furthering the mission of America and ensuring our democracy and freedom for generations to come.
I'm really surrounded by the best of the best, and that's when I realized this is the place that I absolutely want to be.
West Point itself is an amazing institution, but it only provides opportunities. The people here have to choose to take those opportunities and grow and lead and serve. And the people here want to do that. And I'm proud to be a part of that. And I would tell any high schooler who is considering it, you won't regret it.
Left. Pace. Mr. President, First Sergeant Norton, reporting for duty, sir. Ready to commence the ceremony as directed.
I state your name.
I
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations, congratulations. Welcome to the United States Army, and have a great life. Thank you very much. Have a great life. Thank you.
Ranger School is the best life insurance policy for our Army. It will always end with two people facing off with each other, and we need young leaders to be able to close with and destroy the enemy and defend our nation's interests forward.
Surrender is not a Ranger word. It's not an option. I know that I'm not going to be able to get to do this again. This is my chance.
It all starts at the legendary Ranger School, the crucible where these elite warriors are forged. It has been described as the longest approved gut check in the Army. Over 62 days, students will patrol hundreds of miles over mountains and through swamps under the crushing weight of their equipment. All the while, they are deprived of both food and sleep, forced to perform at the very edge of their physical limits. But it's not just the physical challenges that make Ranger School so intense. The mental strain will break these soldiers down to their core.
If I have a come-to-God moment, I have to take my PC off my patrol cap. And on the inside of that, my commander gave me a Ranger tab, the yellow and black one that you get during graduation. And I pinned it to the inside of my PC.
Ranger School is not for the faint of heart, but for those who are up to the challenge, it is the ultimate proving ground.
They already didn't have enough beds for people in our company. And our eyes reminded us that we don't have enough beds because there's not going to be this many people by tomorrow. Just a slight reminder that there's too many of you anyways, and not all of you are going to pass.
Rangers, if you don't figure it out, you're about to get another casualty.
It's completely different than what people would think Ranger School is like, but you can't put that into words, so it's hard to tell somebody something that you have to experience for yourself.
They got a saying, it's called as the tab turns. So Ranger School is continuing to change and to develop, but at the end of the day, it is the same. All right, they're always going to put you in scenarios that is going to test with your ability to actually make decisions on the ground.
As you go through Ranger School, it is a gut check. It's going to check you out. And what's going to get you through it is whether you have it or not. Thousands and thousands of soldiers train all their lives to come here, prepare themselves to come to Ranger School, and only a few hundred leave here every class with the tab. It's not for everyone.
I'm not going to leave until I get it, so just buckle down, stop complaining, and just get the job done.
Please welcome country music sensation and proud supporter of our troops, Warren Ziders.
Like she knows I'm lonely. Rolls up when a wine's gone like a wicked on rain day. Laying on old memories and talking about what it used to be. She'd probably be the death of me, but damn if it ain't sweet. She's my pretty little poison, my heartache in the night with a kiss on her lips just like cyanide. Yeah.
she wants me. Try my best not to fall where she falls into me. We all need some kind of fix. For me, she's the one I pick. Nothing else will do the trick. She's all I need. She's my pretty little poison. My heartache in the night with a kiss on her lips just like cyanide. Yeah, she came with a warning, but I didn't mind. I'll go out on that high every time. She's my pretty little poison. My pretty little poison. Some I guess it's alcohol. I don't want none at all. I just want you. No, I just want you. My pretty little poison. My heartache in the night with a kiss on her lips just like cyanide. Yeah, she came with a warning, but I didn't mind. I'll go out on that high every time. She's my pretty little poison. My pretty little poison. She's my pretty little poison. Thank you. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I'm nervous, but I would just like to say thank you so much for having me here tonight. I am just so fortunate to be here in front of y'all, and thank you guys so much for what you guys do. And honestly, happy birthday, y'all. Happy birthday. This next song was loved by y'all. So if you know the words, please sing along. The song's called Ride the Lightning, y'all. Mama always said I was born on the right side. Yes, she did. One foot in the flames and the other trying to walk the line. Can't say I never saw it coming. I could see the warning signs. Mama always said I was born on the wild side. I guess Mama was right. 'Cause when the clock strikes midnight, gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, great and good Lord lifts me high. Singing, oh, when they call me on. Singing, oh, when they call me on. standing at a crossroads with a pen in his hand and a long list of life songs. They say flips a coin, fools let a fool's go. There's a man in a black coat standing at a crossroads. I hope he lets me pass by when I close my eyes. Gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, breathing good, Lord lifts me high. Singing, oh, when they call me home. Singing, oh, when they call me home. Gonna ride the lightning, ride the lightning, ride the lightning. We got one more chorus, y'all. Gonna ride the lightning, feel the thunder till the darkness pulls me under. Gonna fly on wings of fire, breathing good, Lord lifts me high. Singing, oh, when they call me home. Singing, oh, when they call me home. Gonna ride the lightning. Gonna ride the lightning. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody here, everybody that is attending tonight, I just want to say thank you so much. And I'll leave y'all with this. I'm more insiders, y'all. Thanks for having me. It has been my honor, ladies and gentlemen. I really mean that. Thank you so much. Happy birthday to the Army. Happy birthday to our President, Donald Trump. Amen, y'all. God bless America, baby!
This week we honor 250 years of valor and glory and triumph by the greatest fighting force ever to walk the face of the earth, the United States Army. Each of you on the field today is among the most talented members of your generation. You could have done anything you wanted. You could have gone anywhere. You could have gone to any school. Matt's incredible heroism helped ensure that not a single American soldier died in the Battle of Shock Valley. For 2.5 centuries, our soldiers have marched into the raging fires of battle and obliterated America's enemies. The dignity, daring, and devotion of the American military is unrivaled anywhere in history and any place in the world. Our soldiers do not rest until they win. Our citizens know that you're standing guard, killing terrorists, crushing our enemies, and keeping America safe. But you're also keeping it strong and proud and mighty and free. This week we remember that we only have a country because we first had an army. As President of the United States, let me express my undying gratitude for every soldier here today, for every veteran and their incredible families, and for every patriot who has worn the uniform. Our debt to you is infinite and everlasting. With the grace of God, America will always prevail.
Well, let me say to the thousands of Americans who traveled from distant towns and across state lines to be here today, this is your national capital. Welcome to Washington, D.C. We are thrilled to have you. This evening, as we celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States Army, the oldest branch of the greatest fighting force ever known to man, I want to say to all the soldiers all across our nation's capital and all across the world, happy birthday, soldiers. We're proud of you. And I want to say you represent an unbroken line of greatness, of excellence. And one of the things the President of the United States has told his entire administration, from the Vice President on down, is that we must remember that the young men and women who put on the uniform and serve this nation are our most precious resource. We must honor them, we must respect them, we must fight for them, and that's exactly what the Trump administration aims to do every single day. And so to our soldiers, we're so proud of you, and let me tell you that the way that we honor and respect you is, number one, we never ask you to go to war unless you absolutely have to. And number two, when we do ask you to go to war, we give you the weapons and the support needed to kick the hell out of the enemy and come back home safely. Now, I know I am the last thing standing between that is a dangerous place to be with a lot of soldiers in the audience. So let me just say a couple of quick additional thoughts. First of all, June the 14th is, of course, the birthday of the Army. It is, of course, the birthday of the President of the United States. And happy birthday, Mr. President. But I would get in trouble if I didn't mention that it's also my wedding anniversary. And so to my lovely wife, I love you, honey. Happy anniversary. And thank you for everything that you do for our country. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the 45th and 47th Commander-in-Chief of the United States military, President Donald J. Trump.
All right, y'all, here we go. It promises to be entertaining.
Thank you to Vice President Vance, and thank you to our wonderful First Lady, and above all, thank you to the greatest, fiercest, and bravest fighting force ever to stride the face of this earth, the United States Army. Thank you very much. Because the Army keeps us free, you make us strong, and tonight, you have made all Americans very proud. They're watching from all over the world, actually. Made them all very proud. Every other country celebrates their victories. It's about time America did too. That's what we're doing tonight. And watching this magnificent display, our souls are filled with gratitude for every generation of warriors who have worn the uniform all the way back to the very beginning, so to every veteran across our land and right here in our nation's capital, including 6 recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor. We love you, we honor you, and we salute your noble service to our flag and to our country. As we celebrate tonight, we also think of the hundreds of thousands of Army soldiers who have made the supreme sacrifice for our nation and selflessly laid down their lives in every war, from the Revolution to the War on Terror. To the Gold Star families with us today, the courage of your heroes is the bedrock on which our entire nation stands. We thank you. Yes, we thank you. Today we commemorate an event that did not just change American history, but changed the history of the entire world. With the creation of America's Army on June 14th, 1775, liberty got its shield and the freedom got its sword. Those first Army patriots in the American Revolution fought against a fearsome enemy and impossible odds, but they were armed with a righteous cause. They were led by an indomitable commander, a truly great man, General George Washington, and they were united by an eternal creed. Their motto was victory or death. Over the past 2.5 centuries, our warriors have shown unrivaled valor on fields of battle around the globe. With the frostbitten feet and bloody fist, they have marched into the flames and fury of combat, charged up mountains, stormed beaches, waded through torrents of gunfire, and leapt into skies thick with smoke and shrapnel. The U.S. Army has driven bayonets into the heart of sinister empires, crushed the ambitions of evil tyrants. Beneath the threads of American tanks, it's done so well, it's done so much, and sent the devil himself flying into full retreat. Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win. And that's why no institution in history has entered more names into the roster of American heroes than the U.S. Army, the Congressional Medal of Honor, more than anyone or anything. There was Mad Anthony Wayne, asked by George Washington to lead a daring midnight raid up the cliffs of Stony Point with unloaded muskets and only their bayonets to fight the redcoats. Mad Anthony replied, "Issue the order, sir, and I will storm into hell for you." Then there was the Civil War general, John Corse, shot in the face in combat. He fired off a message to his commander: "I am short a cheekbone and one ear, but I am able to whip the hell out of all of them." He stayed on the front lines, it seemed forever. In World War II, there was the great Creighton Abrams, besieged on all sides by the Nazis at the Battle of the Bulge. He boldly proclaimed, "They've got us surrounded again, the poor bastards." This is the fighting spirit and unyielding force of the U.S. Army. It has never changed, and it will never, ever change, because there is no earthly force more powerful than the brave heart of a U.S. infantryman or an Army Ranger, paratrooper, or Green Beret. They are the best, they are the finest. From Bunker Hill to San Juan Hill, from Gettysburg to Guadalcanal, from Yorktown to Shiloh, and from the trenches of the Argonne to the mountains of Afghanistan, the Army has forged a legacy of unmatched courage, untold sacrifice, and unequaled and undying glory. Our soldiers have poured out their blood by the bucketful on Missionary Ridge and Heartbreak Ridge, on the sands of Sicily, Normandy, and the Philippines, and on the dusty streets of Da Nang, Baghdad, and Fallujah. Thanks to their extraordinary service and devotion, 250 years later, America stands tall, America stands proud, and America stands free. We're the hottest country in the world right now. And our country will soon be greater and stronger than ever before. Down through history, we've been blessed beyond words by this valiant legion of Army warriors and patriots, heroes and legends. And tonight we affirm with unwavering certainty that in the years ahead and in every generation hence, whenever duty calls and whatever danger comes, the American soldier will be there. No matter the risk, no matter the obstacles, our warriors will charge into battle. They will plunge into the crucible of fire, and they will seize the crown of victory, because the United States of America will always have the grace of Almighty God and the iron will of the United States Army. Congratulations to everybody. We love our country. We've never done better. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the Army, and God bless America. And now I'd like to ask our great First Lady to join me at the podium. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, on behalf of the United States Army, the Army Golden Knights, I would like to present to you this flag, which was flown over our nation's capital in free fall during the Army's 250th birthday celebration.
Had to know Lee was coming. And you talk about resurrect somebody for real.
Just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today. 'Cause our flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. Forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you to defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Arizona to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit to Houston, and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, sing it with me. I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Light up your cell phone. And I'm proud
You can hurt your cell phone.
where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the God bless the United States Army. Thank you.
Okay, somebody out there blitz. For real. That's it. That's all we get. Yeah, you right about that, Purpose. Yeah, none of that craziness. Y'all want black people? They're black people. Don't nobody fighting. They're acting like they got plenty of good sense.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, U.S. Army.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Army, for years.
Thank you so much for serving alongside my grandfather and my great-grandfather, for your service, for your country, for your family. And I just want to say thank you from a generation that may not have known your name, but I get to live in the freedom because of it.
I want to thank all the U.S. service members, men and women, and especially the Army for their 250th birthday. Thank you very much.
My grandpa served in the Army in World War II as part of the 82nd Airborne. Thank you, Army, for everything that you do.
My brother Rob and my son Alec both served in the U.S. Army. We thank you for your courage, your sacrifices, and the burdens that you may now carry.
Thank you so much for doing what you do, putting your lives on the line for other men like me to live the life I live.
And I just want to say happy birthday to the U.S. Army, congratulating them on 250 years. I want to give a big shout out to my Uncle Zadian, who served in the Army, and thank you for all you do.
I'm very thankful for the dedication and the hard work of the men and women of the U.S. Army.
Hi, American soldiers. Thank you for all you do. Love you.
Our freedom is not free, and we know that we are free because of you and your efforts.
Thank you to our Army active duty and veterans for protecting our rights and freedoms. Comes at an immeasurable cost.
Wishing you the best. Happy birthday. Go on.
Happy birthday, Army. Thank you to everybody who's serving today and has served in the past.
Love you guys and girls. Thank you so much for everything you do.
A big thank you to the men and women that serve our country and everything you guys do for us.
Thank you, Army, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Army.
Happy birthday, Army.
Happy 250th.
with my right hand, I swore an oath to every generation before me. I wear the same branch insignia as the soldiers who crossed the Delaware. Before there was a nation, there was an army.
Division costs.
I serve because unity is worth the fight.
I carry that legacy forward every time I put on this uniform.
Both of my grandfathers served in the Second World War. They answered the challenges of their time, and it is my goal in this uniform to answer and meet the challenges of my time head on.
He ain't heaven, he's my brother.
The arms are swinging and cadence count. Sound off. 1, 2. Sound off. Bring on. Bring on now. 1, 2.
There's a strength in these bonds. There's a realness to these bonds. It's not just because this is your team, it's because your life depends on these people.
I am an American soldier. I'm a warrior and a member of the team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
Trained and proficient in my warrior drill.
I am an expert and I am a professional.
Enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
When I'm outside guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier, it is one of the most honorable jobs I think that I could have had in the military. I think about those soldiers who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than love.
And I will always do my duty, no matter what the price. Hey, I've counted up the cost. I know the sacrifice. Oh, and I don't want to die for you, but if dying's asking me, I'll bear that cross with honor. Hey, freedom don't come free. I'm an American soldier, an American. Beside my brothers and my sisters.
It was a humbling experience putting on this uniform. I believe this uniform is a symbol of trust, and it represents the highest ideals of our country.
Thank you for joining us on this historic occasion. A special thanks to Scott's Miracle Grow and all of the terrific America 250 sponsors that helped make this monumental event happen. And to you here in our audience or watching at home, to those in our U.S. military who are currently serving, have served, or being remembered. Thank you for celebrating in the greatest country in the world. God bless you and God bless America. Good night.
military parade honoring the Army's 250th anniversary coming to a close in Washington, D.C. President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump in attendance, Vice President Vance, Secretary Hegseth. Millions of pounds of military hardware rolled down the U.S. Capitol's streets. This is the largest military parade the city has seen in decades. And there's their closing slate to wrap up the event. We still have a live vantage point of the stage itself. Standing by is my friend and presidential historian, James Robinault. He's been watching this along with me today. And James, you and I discussed the idea of doing this interview after the parade. You and I have been discussing this for weeks at this point, and I know you researched the history of the Army in preparation for today's segment. Did anything stick with you during your readings? Let's talk a little bit about the Army. That's what this is all about.
All right, let's see what they got to say.
Yeah, you know, we'll talk about why people feel conflicted about this particular event, but I think most people deeply admire our military and the Army. And the one thing I'll say, Austin, is that it's interesting as I watched all the testimonials that they played of different people talking about it, a lot of them talked about their family being in the Army for generations. And I think to a lot of people, the Army is like family. So this is very much a birthday party and a family type event for many people. It is for me too. My ancestors were in the Continental Army. And then I had two great-grandfathers who fought in the Civil War for Ohio Volunteer Infantries. One of them was Timothy Patrick Kelly, who was an Irish immigrant who came over because of the famine and then enlisted. And then my mom and my dad were both in the military in World War II. My dad was in the U.S. Airborne, very much a band of brothers kind of guy. His group came in to Europe right after the Battle of the Bulge. And my mom was a Navy Wave who went to help with the Navy administration. So this stuff, I think we can talk about the reasons people are conflicted about this particular event. But the Army itself, I think there's pretty universal admiration. And it's also so interesting to me that this feels like so many people talk about their family being involved in the military generation after generation.
Do you feel like our country's history is sometimes forgotten by the newer generations, like the fact that the Army is 250 years old? Do you think there's lots of young people who are learning that fact today?
Oh, undoubtedly. And I think there are a lot of older people too, you know, who don't know that we had an Army a year before the Declaration of Independence, which was pointed out as in one of these videos that they showed. And so I do think a lot of people are unaware of the history of the Army and of its sacrifices and its troubles and everything that it went through in our country's history to get us to where we are now. But I think that most people still instinctively have this admiration for people who have served and who, you know, take on our adversaries and keep us free. I think people feel about that, but they really need to understand in more depth what the Army, where it came from, where it went through, what it went through, and you know what got us to today.
So you no doubt saw many of the images that we've been showing for the past few hours. Army members marching down the streets. We saw an impossible, not an impossible, but almost lots and lots of military hardware, including images like this. You mentioned why there's been a lot of discussion about an event like this. James, what are you alluding to?
Yeah, so I think that people are uncomfortable with the fact that this coincides with President Trump's birthday. They see it as kind of a backdoor way to celebrate his birthday and to marry his leadership to the Army in a way that makes people uncomfortable. So I think that's one of the things. And I do think that what happened in Los Angeles last week, where we had military forces sent there, now in this case it was Marines, not Army, but military forces and National Guard to deal with protests when the governor and the local officials did not want them there. So I think that obviously we saw protests all around the country today about that. And so that begins to obscure a little bit, the anniversary celebration here, which is an important anniversary. But maybe it would have been better to have it on the 4th of July or some other time rather than the coincidence of President Trump's birthday.
So the images of tanks rolling through the streets, Army members marching. I mean, do military parades like this happen in America, James? Again, you researched this before you and I hopped on to discuss this today. Have we seen anything like this before in D.C.?
We have, but it's rare. And what we've seen when there are military parades outside of, holidays like 4th of July and Memorial Day, and some inaugurations, and we can talk about that too. Outside of that, military parades in our country have always been after military victories. So the granddaddy of them all is the Grand Review after the Civil War, which was a 2-day affair in Washington, marching down in front of the White House. Andrew Johnson was then the president, newly installed because of Lincoln's assassination. General Grant sat with him. General Sherman sat with him. And the parade was 2 days long. The first day was the Army of the Potomac, which is the Eastern Theater of the Civil War. And the next day was Sherman's Army, which was the Western group. But it's like 150 to 200,000 troops passing by. This, my ancestor, Timothy Patrick Kelly, was there. I've got the records of him being there for that. So that was, known as the Grand Review. It's the biggest of all time. It is, one that will never be repeated with that sort of length and time involved. But then we get to, the First World War, and there were parades in New York City. New York City has a lot of these parades, and Washington, both at the end of the war in September of 1919. Then we get to the Second World War, and in 42, when we're just getting into the war, there was a big parade in New York City, about 30,000 troops as we were getting into that war. And then at the end of the war in 46, there was another big parade. So those were all after victories. Now, the one thing you'll notice is there are no military parades after Korea because that was considered a stalemate. There's certainly no military parades after Vietnam because that was considered a defeat. And in fact, that one famous movie, Born on the 4th of July, is kind of about that whole issue, if you remember. And then, we get to Afghanistan and Iraq. Those have not had military parades. The last time we had a military parade after a victory was the Gulf War, 1991 in Washington, D.C. So that's how long ago it's been. And that was after that very quick, 100-hour war that we had to get Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. Some people said, the parade lasted longer than the war did, but that's the last time we did it. So what's unusual is we're doing the parade now without it's not tied to any military victory per se. It's just tied to the fact that we have a standing army and that we admire our army. So there is a real difference about doing it in this way. And I think it's another reason people feel uncomfortable. It's just not a tradition in our country to have military parades like this. It is, for example, Austin, a every year affair in France with Bastille Day, which is where Donald Trump saw that military parade in his first term in 2017 and became enamored with the idea, tried to do it in his first term. His people told him not to for the reasons we just talked about. And so now he's getting what he wanted to do from that first term in this military parade.
A lot of production quality in this whole, it seemed like a program. This was a 3-hour-long program. It went from 6:30, it started a little bit early, let's say this up front. There were some worries that it was going to rain out. There was a bunch of rain expected to dump on it. There was even some discussion about whether or not we would see the fireworks show at all. But this was a heavily produced and no doubt expensive endeavor, James.
Yeah, and that's another thing that troubles people is spending this much money when we have DOJ trying to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, my own feeling is that it $25 to $45 million, relatively speaking, given the importance of our Army to our history and so forth, is to me understandable on one level. But I think that also troubles people that we have that much money spent. Especially, I think people were more unhappy about bringing all the hardware that might tear up the streets, but it also just gives this appearance that we're trying to look a little bit like North Korea, a little bit like Russia, showing our hardware when we don't need to. I mean, we definitely are known as the best, military in the world, and we are far ahead of everybody else. We don't need to have show parades, and that is an issue that some people also grappled with. But I think from the production standpoint, the Army obviously spent a lot of time working on it. It had kind of almost a Hollywood Disney type atmosphere. They even started Austin playing rock music at one point, which I thought was kind of a little bit interesting. And some of these guys waving like they were in a Rose Bowl parade. So it's just a mixture of things that I think are, some people I'm sure love this, and a lot of people I think understand the importance of celebrating the Army, but I think a lot of people found different parts of it disturbing.
I heard instrumental versions of Metallica songs, a Guns N' Roses song. I heard Barracuda at one point. There were a lot of songs. There's the instrumental versions of them, though. We saw some live country music. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I started listening. What are they doing this for? You hear it's not military music, but I have to tell you, I think I understand why they did it. This was a huge recruiting tool, and they want to appeal to younger people who will see this as, cool to be in the Army. And so I think that was deliberately thought out. And I think that's why you heard that sort of music, which I think, probably Donald Trump didn't even understand why they were doing that music, but I think the Army did. And a lot of their videos in this thing were meant to help them in recruiting and retention, both of which are important. And if you're going to spend this kind of money, get some bang for your buck, no pun intended here, but, get some recruiting out of it. It's important that we recruit the best for our Army. And I think that was why they were playing rock music.
That was one of my questions for you, was going to be with the sources that you talk to, with the connections that you have. I'm sure you've talked about the idea of this parade with lots of people that you're connected with. Have you heard that there is an appetite from some people, whether it be military veterans, whether it just be supporters of the Army, whether it be people who want to see enrollment numbers go up? Have you heard that from anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have heard that people very much think that it's important to look at. And one of the things I like about this parade is that they went back and they did have, the Continental Army represented, and they did have the various stages of the military represented. So in that way, it very nicely tied the Army with our country and its striving to be free and there was a lot of mention of democracy. There was mention of, have taken an oath swearing allegiance to the Constitution. So to that extent, I was pleased to see that, because I think a lot of people are worried that that President Trump was trying to tie this to his birthday and to an allegiance to him, which is very un-American, although he is the commander in chief. So, I think a lot of people in this last week have been, very conflicted because there's so much going on, including these assassinations in Minnesota. I mean, it's just a lot of people are feeling on edge right now. And another time, another place, I think this would be comforting to a lot of people and they would enjoy it a lot more. But I think it's the context right now that's causing the consternation.
We can't talk about this parade without mentioning the fact that around the country, we've been seeing images like this. This is a live vantage point in Los Angeles, I believe. I believe that's the LA Sheriff's Department. We just had a feed drop on us of protests in DC proper as well. Lots of vantage points of police scenes across the country. James, when we talk about the last week or so, We've been seeing lots of anti-Trump protests. We've been seeing lots of anti-ICE protests. Today, there was a nationwide movement, if you will, called the No Kings movement. This was a idea centered around the idea of repudiating the Trump administration. What's your reaction to some of the people that have been mobilized in basically every major metro around the country, it seems?
My own thought is that there's a very grassroots element to this. In every movement like this, there are going to be agitators and provocateurs and people who have their own agendas. For example, people floating the Palestinian flag, and to some extent, people don't even like to see people floating the Mexican flag, which is a little more understandable. But I think those outside of those people who are agitating in a certain way, what I see in these numbers is a very big grassroots element that says, don't just take people off the streets and deny them due process. That's very un-American. And don't send the military to quash protests that are essentially peaceful. Now, obviously, everybody wants to have secure borders. Everybody wants to, deal with the situation of illegal immigrants. But I think the heavy-handedness of the last 3 months, especially the last week or two, really started to raise alarm bells for people. And I think a lot of people started thinking, well, this could escalate and this could come to my state. And so that's why I think you see people in every city around the country coming out in very large numbers. Those people, that's grassroots. There are always agitators, but those people seem to be mostly grassroots.
James, I mentioned the idea that we saw protesters in D.C. moments ago. This is what we saw moments ago. This is not live. This is playback of some of the protest activity that we saw in D.C. Just moments ago. Obviously, we expected there to be some sort of protest in the area, not too far away from where the military parade was taking place. So this is D.C., and then let's go to Los Angeles. So we've got images of protests on both coasts. James, where do we go from here? I always like to move ahead when we talk about any subject. And I guess my question here, as far as moving ahead goes, what main threads are you following with the Trump administration? You're joining us during one of the busiest news days I can remember during the Trump administration. There is these nationwide protests. There's all the anti-ICE raids that have been going on in Los Angeles. There's, in the background of all this, the Israel and Iran conflict that's now seeming to get more and more intense. What are you watching for in the week ahead?
Well, the thing I found most interesting, Austin, was President Trump saying that essentially he was going to walk back some of these ICE detentions with farmers and others in the hospitality industry. That's a huge change. And it seems to me that I think he was becoming aware of the fact that ICE was going too far in pulling people out of, industries where they are needed. And I think if we can stand back and start to ratchet down a little bit some of these efforts, and also respect the courts as they tell, the administration what to do, and not tell the administration what, but as they rule on what the administration is doing to try and, keep things from getting out of hand where people just don't feel secure about what's happening with federal officers. That's got to happen, because I think that, otherwise we're going to have increasing chaos in the streets and increasing protests. And one of the problems about that is from our own history, when the Vietnam War was raging and we had protests, you saw what happened when the military turned on students at Kent State University here in Ohio, not far from where I'm sitting, and, killed 4 of them. So we've got to keep it under control. We've got to keep the military, to the extent we can, out of it. We've got to let local law enforcement handle it. And if they can't, that's a different story, but they seem to be able to. And we've got to have people on all sides remember that this has to be nonviolent protests, or, you're not going to have the leeway of people saying, that the military shouldn't get involved. If they see violence, it causes a backlash. And so I think if we can keep temperatures cool, that's what I'm hoping for. And as I say, that signal of President Trump saying he will not go after, some of the farm workers and so forth, hopefully that will extend further to, there's a lot of immigrants that we need in our workforce. And so maybe that will temper things. We'll have to see.
We hope to see a calm night here as we go into the evening hours here on the West Coast. James Robinalt, as always, we appreciate your insight. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Okay, Austin, good to see you.
Good to see you. All right. So as I mentioned, we've got a few different vantage points of protests.
All right, y'all, let's see what's going on with these protests real quick before we wrap up.
Half American, half Mexican in some cases. It is time for us to take a quick break. The rest of the evening that I'm on the desk, we're going to be talking about a range of issues. That includes the No Kings protests that are happening nationwide. We've seen these in almost every single major metro across the country. My thought is more than likely we're going to be watching a lot of the western cities as the night progresses.
Just look like people walking around
Los Angeles. We're going to be keeping an eye on San Francisco, our sister station up in Seattle as well. But of course, Los Angeles, since that's been, and there we see protesters. Let's pull up the audio. I'm curious if we can hear it. Looks like we have a Trump supporter in the middle of a crowd full of protesters. Let's listen.
Like y'all just walking around.
So we continue to monitor protest scenes from around the country, including this scene. What appears to me to be the LA area. I'll wait for confirmation from my producers. It is, yes, this is Los Angeles. We just saw some smoke emitting, perhaps a smoke grenade. Let's listen in here. Yes, we see those less than lethals being shown by law enforcement. Let's listen into this.
We sitting this one out.
There's actually no audio coming through on this one. So what I'm going to do, oh yes, we do have audio. Let's listen in. Here on Live Now from Fox, what we do is we work with live raw feeds whenever there is activity like this going on. We're going to let you listen in and see what the cameras on the ground are seeing. Let's watch.
If you remain in the area I just described, you will be in violation of 09.
Got to be extra.
South on Spring Street. You must leave the area now. You must disperse immediately. Soy Deputy Presiding. La presencia declaró que está en una reunión ilegal y en el nombre del pueblo del estado de California ordenó a todos los reunidos en la calle Spring que se dispersen, lo que significa disolver esta reunión y abandonar el área. Si no lo hacen, pueden ser arrestados. También pueden estar sujetos a otras acciones policiales, incluido el uso de proyectiles de energía cinética y agentes químicos que incluyen de espuma, balas de pimienta, balas de goma. El uso de estos dispositivos podría provocar lesiones.
So, these are LA Sheriff's deputies in the riot gear. They are speaking in Spanish as they give orders to a crowd. We are hearing, by the way, from the LAPD that Temple and Spring, there's people in the crowd, are continuing to throw concrete.
Oh.
They're saying that people in the crowd are continuing to throw concrete, rocks, and commercial-grade fireworks at officers. Agitators are keeping media back from the area. Temple and Spring, if I'm not mistaken, is downtown Los Angeles.
Y'all doing too much.
LAPD would be the officers that we would be looking at if this vantage point was in downtown LA. So I'm going to wager that the scene we're looking at right now, yeah, there's Broadway, you see on the street sign in the back there. So we very well could be in downtown LA on this shot. I don't have direct contact with the videographer, but clearly we're seeing people hopping this fence now. We're not exactly sure where they're headed, but I'm gonna pull the audio up. It looks like the videographer is adjusting to get a better vantage point. Again, I'm going to bump up the audio. Let's listen into what the camera is seeing and hearing. So we've been listening into the protest activity. You see the LAPD chopper above head. We've got two different vantage points of protest activity in Los Angeles. I'm going to stick with this one for now because we see people seeming to rush over somewhere, and we saw people hopping a fence as well. We're not exactly sure what's going on. All we know is we see what we have seen for much of the week, which is a good amount of people taking to the streets, holding Mexican flags in some cases. This is a LA Sheriff's line. Our understanding is that the LAPD is on scene as well. I have not, from this vantage point, seen any federal officers, Border Patrol police. Let's listen in.
fucking big favor? And at least talk to the police and try and like keep them back as long as possible. They got an injured guy right there, and I don't want him to get his ass kicked.
What is he wearing a Santa Claus outfit? Y'all doing too much out here. Way too much.
Okay, we see one person appearing to be a little hobbled, having difficulty walking. Again, unclear to us why we're seeing people cut a hole in this fence, why they're all heading this direction.
What is
You're
really
curious,
going on?
if you haven't been watching these protests all week and you're curious why they're wearing masks and headgear and eye gear, it's because less than lethal rounds have become a mainstay at these protests.
Child, y'all might,
You
y'all
see
trying
tear
to,
gas,
child, leave him.
in some cases, rubber bullets,
Child, we ain't got time for
flashbangs.
folks hobbling.
These are
Don't
some of
be out
the
here if
crowd
you can't be out
dispersal
here.
tactics that local law enforcement have to move crowds out of the way. Let's take that one vantage point at full with the fence.
Child, we done left him. We ain't got time for all of this. He got too much going on.
So this was a group of protesters who were just pushed back by a line of sheriff's deputies.
Child, we ain't
To
got
me,
time. We ain't got
looks
time.
like those are LAPD officers.
That's how you
Clearly,
talk.
you see an effort by local law enforcement to disperse this crowd, and we're seeing it in real time.
Now wait a minute, y'all see he broke down. Now get him, y'all see he broke down. Damn, they dragging him. Y'all see he broke down.
That's some big shit.
He's supposed to be here.
Y'all think doing a good job right now? On some big shit right now. On some big shit over here.
Child, why?
Can you get in your car?
I'm just confused. Why? I mean, his leg, well, no, his leg ain't broke. Like, what we doing? Is the air conditioning on? I got too much happening. This is too much happening.
Police disposing of a flag after they speared one of the protesters, helping another protester get into a vehicle with an injured leg. So the law enforcement skirmish line appears to be pushing the protesters back to this area that we're looking at right now.
Child, y'all need to go on here and go home. This is too much.
We were watching LA so closely last weekend and in the earlier part of this week as protests broke out. In some cases, we saw people hurling rocks at officers last weekend. Eventually led to a curfew being called in downtown LA in the middle part of this week. unclear if this started as a No Kings protest. But we do know that No Kings protests are
At this
taking
point, I
place
think
in
some of
every
these people just
country
want to be
around,
outside.
pretty much every major metro around the country. Things appearing to calm a little bit for now. We've got a different vantage point, by the way.
She'll be dialing in.
You hear some of the photojournalists there getting ready for live reports for their broadcasts. I believe this is roughly the same area of downtown Los Angeles. Just past 6:30 Pacific time. Okay. While we have a moment, what we're going to do is take a brief break. We see LA City Hall in the background there. News crews.
Y'all got a mess.
Things appearing to calm for the moment. So the videographer setting their camera down for a moment. We are going to keep an eye on the protests. In a moment here, you will see a QR code appear on your screen.
Well, y'all keep an eye on the protests. We appreciate it. Looks like the festivities have concluded, but looks like these folks are still hell-bent on being out here in these streets, all ill-advised. For what at this point, I really don't know, because I don't think this is really going to change anything. I think more than anything, it was just to, take the focus off of the celebration. That's what I think the main goal was, just to take the focus off of it, just in case, they decided to give the president a little bit of acknowledgement on his birthday. But y'all see how folks do. So we're going to let them do what they do. Again, the celebration was for the 250th birthday of the United States Army. That's what it was about. That's what the focus was. That's what it was. Whether you agree with it or not, 250 is 250. So it is what it is. Yeah, we've been on here.
I hate my state for this.
Almost 4 hours. We have had a lot of conversation in the chat, a lot of different opinions, a lot of education. And as always, I do thank you guys for that. That is what keeps things lively over here on Armor I-78. As always, make sure you hit the like button if you have not. Make sure you subscribe if you have not and have your notifications active, because as always, anything important going on, anything educational as far as what is happening in our country, I will be bringing it to you. So if you want to stay abreast on the latest, definitely make sure you subscribe and got your notifications going. I hope you guys have a fantastic Saturday evening and a wonderful Father's Day as well. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. I'm sure I'll be back at some point, just not sure when. Thank you, Purples. I'm glad you found us. I hope you subscribed. Yes, abreast. Yes. Listen. Clean your mind up, Derek, just for a little while. Just for a little while. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Like I said, I will be back at some point. So hope to see you guys then. Again, have a fantastic rest of your evening and a great Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers. Single women, leave us alone. Let the men have that. We might have to get into that tomorrow. Let the men have that. We appreciate you, fathers, for all you have done. And on that note, I'm going to sign out. See y'all later.